everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with my July wrap-up. I don't know why I always struggle to say that. Right, so I read 19 books this month, and so the first book I read and finished was Nice Dragons Finish Last by Rachel Aaron, and that was an ebook. I loved it. It's like urban fantasy, I guess. Actually, it should have just come out. I think it came out on August 1st. The second book in the series, and I just really enjoyed this. I've never really read like regular urban fantasy. I feel like there's definitely going to be a romance in the series, but it's probably going to be really drawn out, and I really enjoyed it. It has like a beta hero, and he's a dragon, but he's a bad dragon, and so he like is forced to be human. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I like a good beta hero. Enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. Then I read Black and Blue by Gina Showalter. This was for the Readathon, and I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. It's a paranormal romance. It has alien or sci-fi. I don't know. I clump sci-fi and paranormal romance together. The characters were just a little flat, and the plot, I just said myself, the plot was just like, I mean, it was an okay romance. But, then I read the Understatement of the Year, also for Readorama, which I gave 4 stars. This is by Serena Bowen. It's the 3rd book in her Ivy Year series, and this one is a male-male romance, so it's my second male-male romance. The first one I ever read was in the Black Dagger Brotherhood by J.R. Ward. I like Serena Bowen's writing. I think, you know, whatever she puts in her books like is crack to me. So this one had it too, I guess, and I like it. It has hockey. It's about 2 guys, obviously, and they're both hockey players, and one's openly gay and one is like confused, I guess, but they knew each other before, and the one who's like confused and isn't telling anybody is like scared that now this secret from his past is going to come out. Whenever I read a Serena Bowen book, it just makes me want to reread other books. So after that, I read The Year We Fell Down. I think I read it in like January or February of this year. It's the first book in the Ivy Year series. That got 4.5 stars. I think it got 4.5 the first time I read it. I really like that one too. That's also about hockey players. And then also for Readorama, I read Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I gave this 3 stars. I found it a little boring, and a lot of times I didn't understand. I don't like the characters for the most part. Jonas is that his name? Yes, Jonas is the only one I'm like remotely invested in. I don't like Magnus. I don't like Cleo. I think a lot of the characters make really impulsive decisions for like no reason, like just constantly changing their mind, and I'm not necessarily upset that they made those changes, but I don't understand why they would make those changes. So that bothered me. But I do like the larger plot going on in this series, or what I assume is going to be the larger plot, like with the magic elements and everything. So I do plan on at least picking up the second book. I may just end up getting it from the library. I don't know. I think that was the last book I had read for Readorama. And then I finished In Shadowed, which I had been reading for a while, and I was just like, forcing myself to read it. I gave it 3 stars. It definitely like skimmed a lot of the ending. The first book just hooked me so much, and it was so engrossing, and I couldn't put it down. And this one just like bored me. And I don't know if it's because Varen isn't really in this one that much, and maybe he's what I found more interesting. I also felt like the first one is called Nevermore. I'm trying to make this like a shorter video, so I feel like I'm not being very descriptive, but I wanted some answers in here, and I felt like I didn't get any. If anything, I got more questions. I'm so torn. I want to read the last one because I still want my questions answered, but I don't know if I should buy it or try and get it from the library, but I own the first 2, and maybe at a different time in my life I would enjoy this more. I don't know. I'm really conflicted about this. I'm gonna wait a few months, I think, and then I read Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevers, which it was a library book, so I've already returned it, and I gave that 4 stars. It's historical fiction with like a little bit of like magic or supernatural things going on, and I really, really enjoyed this. This was a super fast read for me. I was like completely sucked in, and it's about this girl who is like the daughter of death, like the god of death, and she is trained to be an assassin for him, and so she like goes and kills people, and I found it very interesting. It does remind me a little bit of Rain in like the idea of like political and court intrigue, which I like that kind of stuff in books anyways, but I know a lot of people like Rain, so I thought I would throw that in there. And I like Rain, so it's okay. It's not quite as dramatic, but it was really interesting. It had a super cute romance in it, and I'm very interested in reading the other books in the series, especially the next one. I actually already have it out at the library because that character really interests me. And I reread Everything Between Us by Mila Ferreira. I don't know, I was just really in a reread mood this month, and this is another new adult book. I love it to death. It's a weird one, but I really enjoy it. It's about a girl with anxiety. I think I was also really struggling with my own personal anxiety this month. I have been a lot lately and still dealing with it, and so a lot of times reading stuff like that helps me feel better. And I love these characters. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason, 4.5 stars, the only reason it doesn't get 5 stars for me is the ending is super abrupt, and I really feel like it needs at least an epilogue because there's some things left unresolved, and it really bothers me. And then I reread another book. I reread Blue-Eyed Devil by Lisa Kleypas. I talk about this book a lot, so I'm not going to say much. It is about a woman who escapes an abusive marriage. There is sexual assault in this book as a warning, and it's just about her road to recovery, and it has a cute romance, and it's definitely one of my favorite Lisa Kleypas books. And yeah, I really like it. And then I read Soulless by Gail Carriger. I got this from the library, and I freaking loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought it was so good. The tone was different than I was expecting. It was very funny and like campy, and I had written in my written review that I feel like this would make a really good audiobook because it's just, the tone of it is so like, just immediately I thought that, like, the way Gail Carriger's like author voice is just very funny. I thought it was great. It like combined these paranormal steampunk elements with the historical world that I know and love so well, and I completely believe it. Like, I don't question it. I love that the paranormal creatures are like a part of society. I think you don't see that a lot, and I loved the romance, and I definitely want to continue to read the series. I went and, like, once I finished this, I went back to the library and got all 4 of them so I can just read them. I'm probably going to ask for these for Christmas so I can reread them in the future. And then my reading took a turn in tone, and I read Prisoner of Night and Fog by Anne Blankman. I don't know why, but like suddenly I just really wanted to read this book. And this is historical fiction, and it's about a girl named Gretchen, and she's like Hitler's niece. She's a close family friend of his. And then she meets a Jewish reporter, and it's about all of that. And I ended up giving this book 5 stars, but it was incredibly hard for me to read. I was super tense the whole time I was reading it. I was so scared, so nervous. I got the second one out of the library, and I'm like so scared to read it. I'm gonna have to like read it with some Gail Carriger like before and after to like cleanse my brain, because this story just affects me so much emotionally. Which is why I gave it 5 stars. And it's a beautiful story, and I loved it. Like, everything I'm saying that I feel like sounds like a negative, I mean in a positive way. Like, the way it made me feel, I think, is a good thing, because I feel like that's probably how people living in this world felt. But I did really enjoy the story. I really like Gretchen as a character. I think that is her name, right? I hope I'm not... Yes. She's amazing. She makes some really tough decisions in her life, and I loved her like character development and growth, and just like her decisions to think for herself, and I really enjoyed it. I don't think I could ever reread it. I'm just not sure I could put myself in that place emotionally again, but it was a beautiful story. And then I read Turning Point and Second Position by Catherine Locke. I had heard about these, I think it was Tea Leaves and Bookbindings is her channel. I'll try and like write if I'm wrong what it actually is. She had talked about these. I think she got an arc of the third one or something, which comes out this month, and these are sort of new adult, I guess. Especially in Second Position, they're definitely out of what I would consider the new adult age range, but the content and the angst level I identify with new adult. And Turning Point is more of like a prequel novella, but I think you should read it first. And then Second Position is the first book, and it's about a guy and a girl named Allie and Zed, and they are ballet dancers, and it's about, they're like best friends, and then they become a romance, and then they end up being divided by a tragedy. And the first like full-length book is about them meeting again years later and kind of like dealing with what brought them apart and reconnecting. I gave them both 5 stars, but like this 5-star rating is very different from the 5-star rating for like Prisoner of Night and Fog. Like, I don't know, it's just different, but they're super angsty. Allie and Zed are not the most likable characters, but I enjoy them. They're kind of dysfunctional and codependent. These books kind of make me realize why people might like After by Anna Todd. I mean, I can see it a little more now, I can understand, but I really enjoyed it. I also am a sucker for ballet books and dance stories and everything. I wish there was a little bit more of that within it, but that's okay. And then the TBR takedown happened, and I did super well in my opinion. So I read When I'm Gone by Abby Glines, which I gave 4 stars, and then I read right away. I read both of these books in like a day. When You're Back by Abby Glines, which is like the second book in that little duology, and that one also got 4 stars. They're part of the larger Rosemary Beach series by her, and I don't think they're particularly fantastic, but I think they're perfectly good. The second one especially, I really just threw myself into like the pure soap opera craziness that the books are. I didn't completely like how Mace behaved sometimes, which makes me sad because I really liked him in Harlow's books. But overall, I liked the characters and their romance. I thought it was definitely slower paced than some of Abby Glines' romances. And Captain. Super intrigued by him, and I think his book is next, so I will read it. I will probably continue to read Abby Glines. I don't think they're amazing, but I don't hate them, and also I like Abby Glines as a person, so I want to continue to support her. And then I have been trying to read The Bermuda's Triangle by Maureen Johnson, I think since like June, and I got about halfway through, and I just like forcing myself to read it, and I just do not care about any of these characters, so I DNF'd it. And oh my gosh, especially the girl Avery, I not only do I not care about her, I don't like her. Nina and Mel are okay. And then I read this book, I can't say, I don't know, by Cressley Cole. This is one of her Immortals After Dark series, and I gave this 3 stars. It was a nice continuation of the series. I'm still sitting here waiting for Nyx to get a book. Is it ever going to happen? I'm assuming it's going to be the last one in the series, but the series has been going on forever, and I just want Nyx to have another book. The girl, what is her name? Chloe. She is a different kind of paranormal creature than I've seen before in this series. Well, that's not true, but like as a character seen in this series, and I really liked that. But I wasn't 100% on their romance. It was just kind of like a average read for me. And then I read Hex Hall, and these were all for TBR Takedown, by Rachel Hawkins, and I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is a little predictable and it is a little cliche, but it completely worked for me. I've said before, I don't mind cliches and formulaic stories as long as they're done well. I really like the main character. I think she's funny and smart. She makes good decisions, and I like what I assume is going to be the romantic interest. I don't know. And I'm very excited to finish the series. This is the only one I own, so I'm planning on buying the next two in the next couple of weeks so I can read them. I thought it was funny, and it reminded me a lot in like feel of the Gallagher Girls series by Ally Carter. And I'm sure part of that is that like there's this secret school and everything, but it kind of took me back there. I read another library book, but it was still for TBR Takedown, and that was The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tor, I don't know. Tori, I think? I don't know. And this is like an erotic thriller, and this was another one that was hard for me to read sometimes. I gave it 4 stars. I did overall enjoy it. I do plan on, I'm not 100% sure if it's like an actual series or if they're more companion books, I don't know. But I do plan on reading them because I am curious enough, but not necessarily immediately. I read this for a book that's out of my comfort zone, and it definitely was. I find the camming stuff, because she's a cam girl, very interesting, and like it's so funny. I feel like, you know, she talks about how like she realized that she needed like better quality and stuff, and that's how you did it. And I was like, it's like YouTube. Like you gotta get some DSLRs and some lighting. I don't know, some of the things that happen just, I mean, they just make me uncomfortable, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just the way it is for me. But overall I found her to be an enjoyable character, and I'm curious to see how she continues, if she does change or if she doesn't change as the series goes, as like in the other books. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of hard to talk about my feelings. Like I'm not doing a written or a video review for this because my feelings are so like disjointed. I am currently reading Changeless by Gail Carriger. I'm not very far at all, but I am reading that. And I know Booktubeathon is this week. I do not plan on participating in it. I think if it wasn't so soon after TBR Takedown, I probably would, but that was a super stressful week. Plus the wedding is like fastly approaching, and I have other family commitments, so I'm just trying to get everything up and ready for when I'm gone, and I don't know, we'll see. So I just don't want to like stress myself out with it, but I will try to watch other people's videos and enjoy vicariously through them, I guess. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.